really fun. So let me tell you what you guys are going to need. Beads. You're going to need tons and tons of beads, okay? Now, count doesn't matter because it depends on the size you use, okay? So I've got 6 and 8 millimeter kind of a combo here. Okay, I'm doing a little something fun. And so I just want to show you the technique. You can kind of mix it up and make it your own. And so you can use any kind of beads, any size of beads. You can use as many rings of memory wire as you want. Absolutely, totally modify this to really just anything that looks aesthetically appeasing to you, just looks pretty to you. Okay, so what I am going to be doing is we're going to do 5. Okay, so I've reserved my 5th one to do together. And when you see me do this, you're going to basically duplicate the entire thing 5 times or 4 more times, or if you want to do 8 or 7 or 4 or 3, however many memory bracelets you want, basically, right? So I'm going to do 5. Okay, so I'll show you the first one, and then we'll put the full thing together, so you'll see that technique. This should not run that long either, guys. But what you want to do, the most important thing in this bangle memory wire technique, is that your loops and your beads are basically ending on each side the same length. That's what you're going to want to show you over here on this one. Let me see here, which way you going? Let's go this way. Okay, so then on this one, these are both 6 millimeter beads, so same thing. So let me get that, see if I can get it even here. So basically right there, and then right here on my loops here and my loops here, they are pretty much the same. Okay, so that's basically what you're going to aim for throughout the entire project. So the rest of the supplies you're going to need, guys, is basically really just 2 other supplies. You need either some eye pens, and you'll need like at least 3-inch eye pens. 2.5 will work. 22 gauge is what I have here, or some 22 gauge craft wire. Okay, and then your memory wire, guys. So how easy, again, we're doing a project that we basically need, what is it, 3 supplies? We need some beads, we need some memory wire, and we need either a piece of 22 gauge craft wire. If you've got 20 gauge, that'll work too. Or some eye pens or head pens that you can turn into eye pens. Either way, just 3 supplies. 1, 2, 3 supplies. How awesome is that? To do with your memory wire. So, you know, your memory wire comes like a slinky, right? So I have the bracelet medium size, and I think this is medium. Yeah, medium bracelet, 22 gauge, yeah. Okay, so what you're gonna do, guys, is you are gonna, however many you decide you are going to make, let me put that out of the way. Okay, I've decided I'm gonna make 5. You are gonna wanna cut them all exactly the same first, okay? And so in this case, you can see how far over I extended and cut each, because we're also doing double loops. But by the time I stretch this out and I put it on my wrist, it's gonna be meeting perfectly, and that's exactly what you want, okay? So to start out, we are going to cut our links. Take your memory wire links, and can you see there where I have, there's an edge and there's an edge right there. So I've basically cut 1 and a full half circle. Okay, that's what I've cut. So I've cut I've gone, you start here, right? And I've gone around a full circle and then a complete another half. Okay, so you're gonna take and do just exactly that to get yourself started, and cut all your pieces to get going, and you cut them all the same. So you would just line them up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about for my beginners out there. So then here is where this one is, right? That I've already cut, I'm using as my guide. And then I've lined up this piece here, and then I would grab right here and I would cut it right there. So that matches to the other side. So you're gonna cut your memory links first, okay? Now, the next step, guys, is we are gonna turn our loops in and we're gonna do double loops. And my round nose, I'm gonna put it right at the end of my wire there, and I'm gonna roll it in, and I'm gonna keep rolling, and I'm gonna do this twice until I have a double loop. Okay, just like that. Okay, can you guys see that there? I've got a double loop going on there. Okay, and now it's just a matter of feeding on your beads. And I'm gonna go ahead and do just that. And I'm gonna do this last run here. I'm gonna do just, I guess, some sort of a fun 2 and 2, I think, because I wanted a few more 8mm, and then I wanted these metallic. Those two, and then I'm getting pretty close here. So let me finish it off with the two 6mm like I started at, okay? And so without stretching, I'm just gonna let the bracelet lay in the way that it wants to lay, in its shape, okay? I'm not stretching it, okay? And I'm pushing all my beads up. Okay, so I'm holding where my last bead is, so it's sitting all the way up. And then I'm gonna grab another one of my bracelets. It doesn't matter which one. And I am going to line it up. And so right there, I'm lining up the end with those loops right there. And then I can see that I actually need to go up to here. And so that might be a couple of more beads, right? And so let me grab a couple more. And that's how you know when you're done. That's how I do it, guys. You know, you can count it too. You know, it's whatever works for you, whatever you're more comfortable with, but I don't bother to count. I just kind of, it's easier when you're designing, I feel like, to just eyeball it. And so again, I am matching up those loops right there. And I'm holding this right here at that last bead so I can see. Yeah. So do you see there how basically this bead and the bead by my thumb over in this hand, they are pretty close. They are just about even. Can you see that, guys? You see that? You see where I'm going from? I'm looking at these loops right here. Okay, and I'm trying to put them to, you know, side by side. And then I'm going over here to look at this and see that that's, my beads are matching there. Okay? So that's that. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to go ahead and same thing. We're gonna finish it the way we started, rolling in double loops. But I don't need this much wire, so we can trim off a smidge, and I think maybe about a 1/4 inch there. I think we'll cut that much off. And we'll grab our round nose. I'm gonna go ahead and put that right at the edge of my memory wire. I'm gonna begin to turn that loop in, and then I'm gonna keep going until it makes a double loop or it meets that end. Hopefully I got a double loop in, which I did. Okay, and now I'm gonna zoom you down to the mat really close just so I can show you guys really super close up here what I've got. So you see I pretty much have, you know, all my loops pretty much lined up right here, and everything is, you know, it's so hard to hold it for you guys, but you get the drift, right? Like you're wanting all your loops to be lined up pretty close. Okay, so that's what I have up close. Let me pull you back up. Now what you'll do, guys, is, so we're gonna grab our eye pens, and then we have our beads here. Now, all I did was I selected some random beads that are in my bracelets here. So let's see. So you're going to want to have a bead on the outside and then a bracelet. And then I have an 8mm bead, and then I have a bracelet, and then a 6mm bead, and then a bracelet, and then an 8mm bead. Oops. And then a bracelet, and then a bead, and then a bracelet, and then a bead. So you can do this however you want to do it, and you can stack them however you want to do it. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them in the order that I think I want them. So let me see here. Now I have this metallic and this blue, and this is just design at this point, guys. So anything you want to do is fine. I'm thinking I want that metallic maybe to be on the outside. Let's see here. Let me see how that looks. I think it might be better if I went like that. Yeah, I think so. So I wanted to have some sort of interesting symmetry to it, since I did 2 with the 8mm on it. So yeah, so we'll put a 6mm, there's an 8mm, 6, 8, 6, and my 8mm also have some 6mm on it, but I think that looks good like that. So that's the order that I want my bracelets, okay? So I'm gonna lay those down for a second. Now we're gonna grab our eye pen, and our eye pen already is closed, but if you're using craft wire, just make a simple loop. And all you're going to do is, the reason I do the eye pin, because it's so much easier, just roll a second loop in, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna kind of just roll in this just a little bit, so where there's kind of a second loop in there. And again, the reason I do it this way, guys, is I just recently figured this out. This kind of absolutely helps prevent anything from rolling off. And then you can go in with your chain nose and you can put a slight bend here. Just a slight. That was too much. Okay. And so now the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to feed on a bead. And again, you can put them on any way you want. So I'm going to put on first a bead, and then I'm going to grab my bracelet. And I'm going to slide that hole right on, and make sure you're grabbing the right direction. Okay, so I've got that first one on, and it's kind of hard. We'll try to, keep these other ones out of the way and just focus on this eye pin at the moment. Okay, and then next to that bracelet, I'm gonna put a bead on. And then I'm gonna put on the next bracelet. So there's that one. Okay, and I'm gonna put on another bead. And then I'm going to put on my next bracelet. Trying to hold them out of the way a little bit here. And then I'm going to put on another bead. And then another bracelet. And then we need another bead. And then our last bracelet. And then our last bead. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of try to hold these best I can here out of the way and show you that this is now what you have. Can you see that there? So you've got your double loop over here, and then you have a bead, bracelet, bead, bracelet, bead, bracelet, bead, bracelet, bead, bracelet, bead. Okay, and as you can see with my 3-inch eye pen, I probably have just about enough here to make a double loop in. And then we're gonna end up repeating that over on the other side. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this around. And again, it's a little tricky. to hold it, but try your best to just try to hold your eye pen, okay, like this section right here, right there, okay? And what I'm gonna do is now I am going to trim a smidge of that off, a smidge. And I might even not need that much. And then we're gonna roll that on. And so I'm gonna roll it in once and then twice, almost. I got about 1.5, but that's okay. That's fine. Almost got 2 there, pretty much. Okay, and now what you're gonna want, guys, is you're gonna wanna make sure that part that is sticking up there on that eye pen, you're gonna wanna tuck that in. That's why I roll them up. And if your loops end up being down, that's fine. We can move our loops, right? And we can absolutely modify this right here a little bit. We'll work it out with our chain nose a little because we don't want anything poking or sticking, right? Because this is wire. So that's exactly what I just did there. And then same thing over here. This one's already on the inside, so I think that one's good. And let me pull those apart and show you. That is what I have. So that side is finished. Now let's go ahead and work on the other side. So we will grab our eye pen and we will turn the loop in. And again, if you will do it a second time, if you are using craft wire, you're just gonna do the same thing, just roll in 2 loops. So we will roll that in one more time to where I get that pokey part where it's gonna be right there. I can see it, and it's right there where it's not facing anybody. It's not facing the skin. It's kind of in right there, okay? And same thing. First thing, we will feed on the last bead. Now, another really quick note, guys, something fun that I did was notice how I turned my bracelet around when I fed those beads on there. So basically, there's no 2 beads except for the 8mm. Can you see that there, the colors of my beads? They're just random. They're just random. It gives a little bit more dimension. Okay, so you can put those on in any way that you want, okay? And so I need to get this into my right hand. And again, try to, hold your bracelet like this. So you've kind of got a hold to your eye pin here, right? So you make your loop the same way, just helps you from having to actually twist your loops, which is no big. If you need to, we can certainly do that. Okay, and so I'm holding my loop right here, and I'm going to grab my round nose, and I don't think I need to trim any off. I'm just gonna go right to the end there, and I am going to roll that in. Yeah, I really didn't need to trim any off, and I think it's still facing up, and it is. And let's just push that in. So the HUD pens or eye pens that you're working with should be pretty easy. If you need to move things around where they need to be, you can probably accomplish that pretty easy, even if you're using craft wire. Much easier to work with and move around than obviously the memory wire. So I'm kind of just trying to make that look a little bit better. I want that just a little tighter. There we go. Squeezed it, and he liked that. Okay, and we are done, guys. This is what we made. And let me pull you down to the mat so I can show you the ends there. That's what we have. Okay, very, very cool. And now we have made a memory wire bangle bracelet. Yay! Let's see how it turned out, if I did it right. Hopefully I did. And hopefully it looks good. And it does, guys. It looks fantastic. I just love it, and I love all those different blues. You can have so much fun. I really wanted